closed session. May I please have, we are going to say the flag salute. Okay. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, public communication, agenda and non-agenda items. Complaints against specific district employees should be resolved through the district's personal complaint procedure. The right to address the board does not exempt the speaker from any potential liability for defamation. The proceedings of the board are recorded and are part of the public record. Any individual who requires disability-related accommodations or modifications, including auxiliary aids and services, in order to participate in the board meeting, should contact the superintendent or designee in writing. Members of the public may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items. Members of the public are encouraged to submit public comments via email at nfox@nclusd.k12.ca.us. Comments must be received by 2 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. Please limit your comment to 250 words or less. If you are unable to email a public comment, please contact Nancy Fox. Leave a phone message with your question or comment at 209-862-2933 prior to 2 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. Please limit your comment to 250 words or less. For public comment, submit by email or phone, please provide the following: name, phone number in case we need further clarification, address, optional, affiliation, if any, topic or item on the agenda you wish to address. Please limit your comment to 250 words or less. Okay. Mr. Philpott, do you have any public comments?
For the recording, we do have several that I'll read that are under the 250 word limit. The first one is from Nina Rubal. I made the decision to tell my 15-year-old about the new grading policy. Fear settled in. I knew already what this was going to do to him. We sat on the couch. You're going to be given an automatic 50%. His first response was, why? I explained that this was the new grading policy decided upon by the district. He responded with yes. There it was the reaction of knowing that he could get those A's he desired without working as hard. What have you done, NCLUSD? My heart is disappointed. I explained to him how we should always give our all, and continuing to work hard, pushing oneself for education should never go away. Never give 50% even if society says that's all you have to give. What have you done, NCLUSD? You see, my son took an AP history class this year. This is a challenging class. He received a C. His other grades were A's. He told me, it's okay, Mom, because a C is actually like a B on your GPA, and colleges prefer someone with AP classes, even if it's a C or a D. That's what my teacher told me. These are words of encouragement spoken by a teacher. What have you done, NCLUSD? Why have you made the decision to unravel my son's desire to work hard for that C and be proud of it? What have you done, NCLUSD? What have you done? The next is from Ashley Kimbrough. Most kids at a young age are taught to follow directions. For example, you're told to pick up your toys or clean your room, and if you don't, there are consequences such as losing privileges. So as a mom of 3, I'm left scratching my head as to how this new grading policy is actually going to help. In fact, I strongly feel it will do just the opposite. Not only are you sending a message that zero effort continues to get them free passes, but now you have managed to rip the wind out of the sail of those students who have been applying themselves. There is no doubt things are difficult these days, but our children, our future leaders, are smart and resilient. To discredit them, the ability to overcome obstacles by giving them continued free passes, I feel is a terrible move. Since when did hard work, dedication, determination, and perseverance become a thing we expect less of? What do you plan to do for those students who are stepping up to the challenges rather than handing out participation trophies for zero participation? As a parent, I feel it's not only necessary, but also imperative that our children know what it feels like to fail, but more importantly, what it feels like to gain satisfaction from something rightfully earned. I urge you to reconsider this new grading policy, as this feels like a downward spiral that we may not be able to recover from. Next one is from Dennis Kimbrough. When you took a position in education, you made a commitment to guide and shape the youth of America for the better. Your commitment wasn't to make children happy, although that is a plus. It is an imperative as the educational leaders that you do what is best long-term for the children. And what is best is not always easy or fun, but these struggles are what shape the personalities and builds the character of these individuals. By allowing these kids the grace of passing grade based off sympathy, you are actually hurting them long-term. In doing so, you are dumbing down the future of our nation. This act has caused issue at personal level within our home. 2 of our children struggled and fought for their grades, while a third was taking the process lightly. She even pointed out how the district adjusted the grades last year. We noticed the lackadaisical efforts of the one child and became more involved in guiding her to succeed. Due to your change in grading format, all of our children now have passing grades. Our 7-year-old was able to point out the lack of effort of their sibling still produced a passing grade. What does that do to help drive any of the children? You are teaching them that the world will dumb down and adjust for them. That is not how America became a world leader. That type of thinking is what is killing our society. The next one is from Elsa Juarez. I'm writing this letter to express how I view the recent decision to change the grading policy. Teachers were not part of the discussion to address the perceived problem. NCLUSD administration's decision to exclude teachers demonstrates that teachers in this district are not valued as professionals. Administration addressed a perceived problem without delving into what teachers are doing to help students succeed. If district administrators had, they would have found that teachers are doing the following. Lessons are modified for distance learning, extra support via Zoom is available, assignments accepted late the entire first quarter without penalty, emailing students and parents reminders of assignments that are due and missing, parents kept informed through emails, Parent Square, and phone calls. The students that failed are students that did not show up to class, did not attempt to complete assignments, ignored emails and requests to attend class. Parents ignored phone calls, emails, and Parent Square notifications. Teachers reached out in an attempt to provide support, but students and parents did not take advantage of the support that was being offered. Making a change in grading policy without teacher input demonstrates that we are not being valued as professionals. Furthermore, the district's decision requiring teachers to be in classrooms for professional development days in January underscores the devaluation of educators by this district and school board. We are being put in harm's way unnecessarily during a global pandemic. The next one is from Kirsten LaFleur. I am writing as a concerned parent about the new grading policy adapted for NCLUSD students. As if participation trophies for sports weren't bad enough, we've decided to do the same for our children's education now. How does something like this get passed with no input from teachers or parents whom this directly affects? My 7th grade student at Yolo does his best with distance learning, and sometimes he slacks off. I'm appalled at the idea that there is zero accountability and zero responsibility being enforced at the schools for this school year. We're already falling behind in content because of this pandemic, but now we are just basically giving kids a free year and passing everyone without any effort. I'd like to be aware as a parent when my student isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing so that I can hold him accountable as well. But now I'll never know if he just missed half of the questions and needs extra help or just isn't trying. I sincerely hope you reconsider this decision. Your poor decision today is shaping the future behavior of the children in our community in a terribly negative way. The next one is from Gail Paveda. I was quite distressed to read that the NCLUSD has passed a new grading policy, albeit temporary, allowing students who do not turn in their assignments to nevertheless receive half credit. This new policy is wrong on so many levels. It is a discredit to those students who are doing their work. The majority of teachers at both Yolo and Oristemba are empathetic to the problems that many students may be experiencing during COVID-19 and are more than willing to work with those students to make sure that their work is completed. By gifting these students a grade they don't deserve so they can go on to attend college or university, you are deceiving them into thinking that life will be that easy. As educators and parents, it is our responsibility to make sure our children are ready for a future that will include a multitude of hurdles to jump. Let's do that the right way. The next one is from Rhonda Freitas. As a parent, a graduate of Orriston Baha'i, and educator, I'm very disappointed in the recently made decision to change the grading policy. I understand these are unprecedented times with students, teachers, and families facing many learning challenges. It is my opinion that rewarding a student who has not put forth effort with a 50% grade is unfair to not only that student, but to my student and countless others who are working diligently to complete all assignments with 100% effort. Teachers know which students are having difficulty in class, and systems such as phone conferences, parent-teacher conferences via Zoom, as well as IEP meetings are in place to address the needs or challenges individual students are encountering. Teachers work one-on-one daily and have means to reach out to parents as soon as they can to work on solutions to improve. I believe all teachers in the district strive for excellence as well as improvement on an individual level. A blanket approach for all students seems to be unnecessary. My child does not achieve higher than 50%. I expect that of him. Giving a student a 50% for zero effort is failing to hold them as well as their parents accountable. I respectfully request that you collectively revisit this decision, thinking of all students that you have been sworn to serve in your capacity as an elected official. The following one is from Linda Whitaker. As a past parent of students of the NCLUSD, it saddens me to hear the decision made regarding grading standards for students of the district. Both of my sons struggled while in NCLUSD with classes, grades, etc., but both graduated, though one graduated in another state. Because the graduation requirements included grade acceptability and my constant pushing. Without standards in place to strive for grades, both would have let the system work for them and would not have been given the opportunities they have received to date. Please get away from everyone deserves a trophy mentality. Employers require you to earn recognition, advancement, etc. By enforcing this new grading standard, you are setting these students up for failure as they will never know how to truly earn something that has just been handed to them with no accountability. Step up and do the jobs you were elected to do and represent your community, students, and the future. These students need to earn their grades and their place in society. Though COVID has created challenges, there is no reason to change grading standards that only seem to benefit the district and not the students. The future is about making all students successful and not giving them a free ticket in life. Please weigh the disadvantages of this choice and reverse this decision as a benefit to the students of your district as well as the teachers. Our future really does depend on it. Following is from Sandy Solano. The new grading change is a detriment to all concerned. The education of our students is a team effort between both teachers and parents. You have taken away my ability as a parent to monitor what my student is struggling with. I can't even trust that Power School is a true picture of his grasping of the concept, as his low grades or incompletes have been doctored. Let's be honest, he could even skip class on the final and get 50%. How is this fair to the teachers who are putting in the work and effort to educate our kids? How is this fair to the students who are putting in the work to earn their grades? No matter what the end result may be, learning that their grades are in direct output of what they put in. How is this fair to those who are given 50% to get through this period of distance learning when they're back in the real world in high school, college, or workforce, when they learn that zero effort doesn't ever equal half of anything? It was obvious at the last meeting that our administrators, superintendent, and board members were in collusion with each other over this. It has resulted in even lower morale than ever before at our schools. It was transparent that this was a preconceived agenda. As a model school, we should be embarrassed at the way this issue was rushed through to adoption at the last meeting. The following is from Derek Thibodeau. I'm writing today regarding the proposed grading policy of giving students a 50% for doing nothing. What message are we sending to not only these students who are either too lazy to put forth the effort, but what about those who have worked hard and done their best and passed with a D grade? Also, what about those students who have done the work and are looking for college acceptance and scholarships? If we water down our curriculum, grading policy, eventually word will get out about OHS, and the diploma from OHS will have less weight than diplomas from other schools. This policy actually goes beyond the participation trophy mentality that has plagued our society in recent years and gives a trophy to a student who hasn't even showed up for practice or games all season. This in no way prepares our children for the future, where the U.S. is already behind the world educationally. I understand the pandemic has put a lot of strain on families and not every student has the same opportunity. But instead of giving out a freebie, why not help our stressed teachers with more resources to help those struggling students? Maybe more classroom aides for one-on-one virtual instruction is just one thought. I know these are unprecedented times, but I hope the board seriously reconsiders this new policy, as it will only serve as a detriment to our children in preparing them for our future. Following is from Angela and Rudy Reyes. On behalf of my husband and myself, I would like to share our personal feelings about your sudden change in the grading policy at our secondary schools in the district. We currently have a son at Orristimba High School and have been involved parents in the district for over 20 years, which include participating in district input surveys, school site councils, superintendent interview roundtables, and a member of the interview committee for the current superintendent. Yet not one member of the current NCLUSD school board felt it necessary to inform district parents to provide feedback on this major academic change. Parents were not informed of this controversial grade change until after the fact. The decision was made with absolutely no parental input, leaving the parents feeling separated and not represented. As parents, we now have a heightened sense of dishonesty amongst the 4 board members who voted for this sudden grade change without parent involvement. You have kept us in the dark and lacked transparency by not including all stakeholders in your decision-making process. Your actions give reason to believe that this decision was done under the table with the intention to hide it from the community until the final deal had been made. Thank you, Mr. Snodderly, for wanting to table the decision until further discussions could be heard. We applaud you for standing up for a decision you clearly did not believe the board was ready to make. And the last one is from Desiree Garcia. As a parent of students in the NCLUSD, I'm disappointed in the decision on implementation of the new grading scale. This decision was made without any regard to the recommendation from teachers. The teachers who have direct contact and interaction with the students every day. I feel this decision will cause a huge disservice to our children. It shows them they do not need to make any effort and they will get some type of credit. Even though it is not a passing grade, it is still credit that is undeserved. I understand we are in the uncharted territory with the times we are living in now, but students still need to be held accountable. Otherwise, it sets them up to fail as adults. What about those children who try their hardest and all they get is a 50%? Are we saying their efforts do not matter compared to the children who do not even try? With this new grading scale, that is exactly what is being said. Students need to be graded based on content and effort. No content or effort equals no passing grade. I would like to see this decision reversed. Thank you for your time. That is all of the letters.
Is there anyone who would like to address one or?
Are there any board members that would like to address?
It's actually not
This-
appropriate, actually.
Not right now.
No, it's not on the agenda, so it's not.
Okay. Thank you. We will take the information given to us, and as we've said, this is ongoing. It's not something permanent. Okay. Approval of the agenda. May I have a motion for approval of agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Information discussion items. Healthy Choices Art Contest, Andy Freeberg, first grade, Bonita School. Viviana Espinoza, first grade, Bonita School. And third place went to Ivanas Castaneda, seventh grade, Yolo Middle School. We were lucky for them to participate, and they received awards from Mr. DiMartini, correct, Mr. Papa? Okay. School of the month is Yolo Middle School, and we have a video.
Good evening, Newman-Crows Landing School Board and community. I am Michelle Smith, the principal of Yolo Middle School, and I'm here to share with you a little bit about what we're doing at Yolo Middle School in our 2021 school year thus far. Our goal is to connect with our students, even though we are virtual with most of them at this time. The two pictures that you see is the welcoming crew when families were picking up the food boxes before Thanksgiving, and a picture drawn by one of our students, Carlos Gutierrez, in his class. Council's been working hard to ensure the social emotional connection to our Yolo students. We have held events beginning in early September of this year to promote staying connected. Some events include Kahoot nights, movie nights, sports tournaments, drawing competition, college and career events, family bingo nights, and Among Us tournaments. Each event drew between 50 to 200 participants, depending on the popularity of the event. Students report that these events help make them feel a part of the Yolo culture. Yolo's Panther mascot has made his way into every classroom on campus to promote culture during this distance learning epidemic. Yolo Yearbook has been working diligently to ensure our students commemorate this distance learning year We have a focus on building commemorative book to showcase our graduating 8th grade class. All stakeholders have been asked to submit photos for the yearbook to showcase every student regardless of being on campus or not. We have continued to honor our students by re-envisioning Breakfast of Champions into Celebration of Champions, where over 60 kids are acknowledged and recognized for their hard work. One student shared, I want to tell you thank you so much for picking me to be your champion. I really appreciate it because if it wasn't for you, I would be failing my classes. I'm so proud of myself. Thank you so much. We've added new academic award ceremony called the YOLO All-Star, which will be premiering in January. We anticipate another 60 students or more being recognized for their commitment to academic excellence. Student Council has paired with National History Day elective to research and cultivate Newman history in anticipation for the statewide competition. We have for the first time 9 6th graders participating in National History Day team competition and 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, including 4 student council members for a total of 15 students. While it has been extremely challenging for many of them with this distance learning, they are well underway in their research in this year's theme of communication in history, the key to understanding. We've had to be creative measures to ensure students can communicate as a team, and I believe they're making great progress. Our hope is to have at least 4 teams go to the county competition in Patterson. These are some of our lunch clubs, HYLC. This one only has about an estimate of members of about 20, as they haven't had an event yet. But in the past, they've had a large turnout when they have had them. They've had a lunch meeting where they discussed doing a loteria night in January and community service event where they're going to see about collecting food for the needy. They're in the process of seeing how they can do that. We have our Fast JV that has had some challenges recruiting members since we are virtual, but they're still in the process of recruiting. They have about 10 members who are currently involved in student events, and it's the hope that these members of this club will grow and that they will continue to bring light to our culture. They've organized the Spirit Week for Red Ribbon Week, which many students were able to participate in. This is a picture of some of our students who are on campus for our hybrid. We have 27 general education students who started in November. We have 28 students who have just started currently this week and 12 SDC students since the beginning of November. The attendance for these students has improved dramatically, of course, when they're on campus, and increased. We only have a few who are still struggling to increase when they're at home, but most of them have also increased their attendance while they're at home. The grades have also improved for these students as they're able to access their work, get some support that they need, and have a calm area in order to work. Here's what some have shared about these students. The students has started to turn his year around scholastically, starting this year with poor attendance and grades. He has exhibited great work ethic and attitude while on campus to improve both grades and attendance. Student has shown determination since attending on campus. He is always inquiring about how he can better his grades. He drives himself to do better and be a better example for his younger sibling. Student has shown incredible improvement in both attendance and grades. He has consistently shown that he wants to make a positive change in academics. We are very grateful for these students who were able to be our first groups to join us on the YOLO campus. This was a class meeting that was held where the student council were talking about being entrepreneurs, and we had visitors in our class. We have also held our first virtual outdoor ed at Foothill Horizons for our 6th graders. We had, they were incredibly amazed by the amount of students who participated and the submissions. They said they had over 50 students submit work. They love seeing the student work and reading about their favorite activities. The 6th graders all had a ball. Kids loved dissecting the owl pellets, which they received in their backpacks, especially when they understood that that's what the owl pukes up. They seemed to be enjoying the outdoor nature hunts Everyone's pets have been observed in the animals in their natural habitat. And the naturalists from Foothill Horizon have been great and have lots of information. It's not the same as being at Foothill Horizon, but they have outdone themselves, and the 6th grade attendance was great all week, and they participated in the Zooms and the naturalist presentations. Homework help. We have been working to help students learn how to use the homework helper tool that has been offered to them. Teachers are helping students log in during class. We've also invited them to do class participation in our study skills and study hall classes this last week. Students were shown how to log in and attend sessions. They were also able to see a sample of a tutoring session. Students were able to ask questions about the program and how to navigate it. We also had a parent informational night where parents were able to see how to navigate this tool and help their students access it. Homework help. We've had an increase in students who are participating. We started with about 3 or 4, and now we're up to 20 or so in the last week who participated, and hopefully this next week we had a lot more. We also participated in a thought exchange at YOLO. We had 258 participants. We had 345 thoughts that were shared, with 5,134 ratings done by the students. So the highest participating group was the 7th graders with 62% participation. We'll be reviewing the information as a staff and using it to help us meet the needs of our students through the distance learning time. And this is also another drawing that was done by another student in art class. This is by Diana Guyen Rodriguez. Thank you so much for all of your support at YOLO School. We are grateful to all of our students and parents for all the hard work that they are doing to participate in our distance learning at this time, and all of the questions and work that they're doing.
That was amazing, what we saw happening, and it's happening, I believe, all around the whole district. Okay. Next, we have student representative, Mr. Garcia. Would you like to give us your report?
Absolutely. So good evening, everybody. Awesome. Okay, so you won't get to see my face, which, might be a good thing. I'm here to deliver you the monthly report from Oristemba. So there isn't much going on. It is currently our finals week over at Oristemba. So students are finishing up projects for the quarter, projects for the semester, getting their final assessments in, etc., and just trying to, trek on through it in a very unconventional time, and trying to remain motivated and positive. Some new news that has come out is that a book club at Oristemba was recently approved. The Oristemba Book Club, they just meet and they read, which sounds quite therapeutic, especially right now. So that's exciting. I am working to establish next semester the FEEPS, or Political Science, History, Economics, Anthropology, Psychology and Sociology Social Sciences Club at Oristemba, that is going to be partnered with hopefully obtaining the Civic Engagement Seal, which is similar to the multilingual seal, except this is more for the social sciences department. So through history, political science, etc. And it recognizes students for their commitment to being engaged in the social sciences field at their respective high schools. And it rewards them through the classes that they take, such as history, or human geography, etc. So that's something that we are currently waiting to hear back on from the county. And on that note as well, there are also students who are in the process of currently obtaining their multilingual seal. I am one of them. So we're just getting in submissions to Mr. Ibarra, and hopefully things will be able to work out through there. I wanted to do something a bit special, and so I have a couple anecdotes from students from grades 10 through 12 who I asked them to share one positive thing that they've gained out of this experience, because being perfectly honest, it's kind of easy to, bag on and, make just absolutely ridicule like the mess of a year that this has been. So I asked them to get something positive out of it, you know, or at the very least from this semester. So from Christina McKenzie, senior at OHS, she said that one of the things that she was grateful for is that now she gets to read more, which please read, go out and read. It's really good for you and it's very relaxing. Yahaira Romero, senior as well, says that she's been able to get more in touch with her feelings, which I think is something that is definitely pivotal for this year. Frances Fuentes, a junior, said that she is learning, in her words, quote, patience and acceptance. The semester I learned patience, and most of all, I learned acceptance. I saw the reality. We may not go back this year, but with the patience I built over these 9 months, I came to accept that whatever form of learning I am partaking in, whether it be virtual or in person, I am privileged to be learning. Patience and acceptance are big ones for me this semester. Beautiful statement that I completely agree with. So thank you, Francis. Alexa Castañeda as well, junior. She said that something positive that she got out was adapting to be honest, and learning how to challenge herself and keep herself upright even when no one's watching. And as well exploring some new personal projects for herself that she wants to continue with throughout the semester, which is something I've also noticed that a lot of students are interested in, whether that be internships, research papers, etc., things that are going to help them explore whatever fields that they are hopefully going to be entering in. And then for my final anecdote, I have Taylor Eckstein of the sophomore class, who says that something positive that she has learned over the semester is that teachers are really there for you. Not all teachers will take time and talk to you like the school does, and that they care about us. Not only do I want to get good grades for myself in my future, I also want to get them for my hardworking teachers. So those are just a couple anecdotes of some positive things that people have been able to extrapolate out of this, chaotic year. And I think that it's important to think about that because, like I said, it's incredibly easy to just, hate on and bag on this semester. But at the end of the day, we're very fortunate to be able to be here and still be able to acquire the education that we have, even under the circumstances that we're doing. And we as students are going to keep on trying to find whatever motivation we have. And is it easy? Absolutely not. But we also understand that this shapes us, and not just as students, as society, for teachers, administrators, and anybody else alike. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing as we progress back into hopefully some normalcy this year and seeing how everybody has improved for the better. So other than that, that is all I have. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Your information was very fulfilling. Thank you. Okay. Next, our hybrid small cohort and distance learning update. Mr. Philpott?
Yes, well, as you're aware, about a little less than half of our students at the elementary level have been doing hybrid classes, either Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday at the elementary sites. The other half, more than half, actually are doing distance learning, and so that's really kind of a juggling feat that our elementary teachers have been doing now for several months and have been doing very well with that. Small cohorts actually exist more at the secondary level, bringing back certain students that have been kind of struggling. Some of our special ed kids have come back. Our language learners have come back from assistance. And so that's been of great help as well. The distance learning group, at the secondary level had given some feedback through thought exchange. And I know that at the high school, departments have reviewed and discussed those results. They have listed the trends. They're identifying pauses and areas for improvement. So they're going to continue to kind of work through that information. I know that the middle school is doing the same. But through all of this, I can tell you that the thing that's been a little bit of a struggle over the last month or so has been just the increase of cases that we have experienced in our community and the county as a whole. And so, for instance, we have over 54 staff members that are on what we call kind of a COVID-19 remote employment because of some kind of extenuating circumstances regarding their family or themselves and stuff that they can't be actually here. We've also averaged about close to 10 active cases of COVID, not any that have been really prominently have been contacted here at the sites, but then also about 10 to 15 sometimes people who are out waiting for results on getting tested. So all of that has actually contributed to kind of a thinning, if you will, of our ranks. And as because of that, we have had to, unfortunately, transition many of our hybrid classes at the elementary back to distance learning. Just about all of our small cohorts now are transitioned back to distance learning at the secondary level. And unfortunately, with the stay-at-home order that is occurring right now to kind of, keep us kind of slowing the pace of the virus and hoping preventing any further spread, things still are not improving. And in fact, actually, our experts at the county and at the state level indicate things will continue to get worse, actually probably through early March, at least January and February. And there are numerous research reports that conclude that schools are not the primary drivers of spreading the COVID-19. But the unfortunate part is that doesn't mean that there isn't a risk here. Here we've actually balanced the pressures to bring back students against relative risk that in-person instruction presents to teachers, staff, older children, and to their families. And our safety protocols at school have been methodically followed by our personnel and children alike. The unfortunate part is what happens outside of school happens outside of school and then creates basically a problem for us sometimes in the employment here. So community cases continue to increase. Projections, as I said, look like they're going to continue to get worse through at least early March. And so, unfortunately, I have made the decision to transition all of our instruction to distance learning when we return from winter break, January 6th, through the third quarter of the school year, ending March 12th of 2021. And I do not take that decision lightly. However, the level of spread in the community is so significant that it's making it too difficult to operate safely. And it's more important now than ever before for everyone to do their part to slow and prevent the spread of the virus by wearing masks, maintaining 6 feet of distance, washing hands, avoiding large gatherings, and staying at home when sick. Our behavior and decision-making will determine how quickly we can eventually return to in-person learning here in our district.
Thank you, Mr. Philpott. As it is, we follow the rules that the state and the county have given us for the most part. Citizens Oversight Committee Annual Report. Mrs. Mendoza?
Yes, good evening. I prepared for you this evening the annual report from the Oversight Committee. I have reviewed it with the committee members, and I can just kind of give you a quick summary of how we laid this out, and this will be posted to our website as well. The Oversight Committee reviews annually the expenditures in the bond funds, and it ensures that the bond funds have been spent correctly and according to the bond language. These funds are also audited independently, and the audit report will be available, I believe, next month. I did review this report with the committee, as I said, it talks about numbers. We talk about how much money is left. We talk about the projects that we were completed and what's on the horizon. So as a quick recap from the year 2019-2020, we started with $5.9 million in available funding. We earned about $120,000 in interest. And we expended about just under $4 million. Work in progress is an amount that you start a project in one year and you finish it in the subsequent year. So that work in progress was work that was completed this year and possibly into next year. So we have an ending balance right now in this measure. This is measure P. We have about $1.4 million remaining. So last year, the big project was the YOLO classroom wing. So, and all of the fees that were part of that. We had spent some money in the years prior and doing the project planning. Most of the most of the actual construction was last year. There was a little bit work in progress this year. We did some additional HVAC upgrades at Yolo, Oristimba, and Von Renner. We purchased the Hardin Road property, and we began construction on, or we began project planning for the tennis courts. We have some pictures of the completed Yolo classroom building so that you can see that this is the art room and one of the regular classrooms. The art rooms is just a little bit larger than the regular 960 square foot standard room. And then we did a summary of other projects that have been completed with Measure P funds. The Bonita office, the Herb Barrington Library, the HVAC projects at Von Renner and Hunt, and re-roofing at Oristimba. And this report will be posted on our website.
Thank you, Mrs. Mendoza. Okay. The next item is the board self-evaluation. If you would take, you have a similar to it's same as last year's. If you would fill it out if possible and have it back by our January meeting. Okay. January, yes, please. Okay. The board has some readings to do, risk management, sexual harassment, exposure plan, our homework, and would you please look at those for next meeting? Consent calendar. The consent calendar items are routine in nature and usually do not require board discussion. Individual items may be removed by board members and presented for discussion and separate action. The consent calendar will be adopted by a roll call vote. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Seconded.
Okay. Mr. Bazar?
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst?
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly?
Aye.
Mr. Wallace?
Aye.
And Mrs. Conforti votes aye. Passed 5-0. Approve first interim budget. Mrs. Min.
Okay. So first interim is a summary from the beginning of the school year to the end of October. And a lot of the things that we've already discussed with changes that have happened since the July adoption, we discussed at the 45-day revision. So things that we took into consideration for first interim was the influx of the CARES Act funding. Some of the funding has all of the funding has very strict timelines, and it's all one-time funding. So we had to make sure that in our multi-year projections, we took that into account. For attendance and ADA, our funding is based on 1920 P2, and that's also what we use for the projection years. It's slightly higher than what we did at budget adoption, but this is what the state has decided that we need to use. We're not reporting ADA in the traditional sense, but we do have to meet minimum daily instructional minutes, and we have to, each teacher has to maintain a weekly engagement record for each student, and we've set those up for them. We also have the STIRS on behalf calculation, which is, this is basically a ghost entry. The state calculates what the impact of STIRS would be. We post a revenue and an expense. It's a wash. It doesn't actually materialize anywhere. It's just an entry that the state makes us journal. So for this school year, it's $2.7 million. And it doesn't do anything, but it increases our need for economic uncertainty reserve by $222,000. So the reason that economic uncertainty reserve seems so high is because that's calculated into it. We can exclude this money from this entry from our contribution to maintenance, but I've counted it in on the high side. Additional considerations for the local control funding formula, we need to watch our unduplicated counts carefully for our fall certification, review our class sizes TK through 3, and begin planning for the stakeholder engagement cycle. We've had some changes for the unduplicated students because we don't have national school lunch forms this year. The state decided at the very 11th hour to have us do a new form, gave us about 2 weeks before the end of December to get it done, and we've gotten it done. So we're having to do things just a little bit differently. Cash flow projections, we've been advised to make sure that our cash flow projections are as tight as possible. And also we need to turn in, instead of just 1 year, current year cash flow, we're doing current year and next year. So, and that's to reflect the state deferral cycles, which may or may not come about. So revenue summary, again, we had, when we adopted our budget in July, we had a revenue of 39.7 million. At first interim, we're up to 46.4 million. The big part of that is the STRS on behalf revenue that was added in, and the CARES Act money, which was about 3.5 million. We also eliminated the deficit factor for the LCFF, which we had put in a 10% deficit factor for in July. We were able to take that out with the budget adoption that wasn't in play anymore. So that really made an impact on our revenue. On the expenditure side, because of the timelines for the CARES Act, I'll get to that in a moment, but a good chunk of that money had to be spent by December 30th. So that's why we put in the expenditures after July 1st. We couldn't recognize the revenue until July 1st. Some of the money we were able to spend a little bit last year, but we had to book the rest of the expenditures and make sure that was spent, because otherwise it would have been swept back in. It also reflects that 2.4 million of the STRS on behalf, as well as the CARES Act money, and as well as some other minor adjustments that we made. So in the multi-year projection for next year, looking at this, we're looking at about 42 million going forward, and then about 43 million the year after that. So we are going to have to be very careful in expenditures in the third year, just looking down the road, especially if the deferrals continue to be in play. This is just kind of rolling things ahead, but we're still looking at maintaining a healthy reserve. And I think that we should be able to get through this. So for the CARES Act funding, we had about $3.5 million, and we had to spend 2.8 million of that by December 30th of this year. We have supported personal protective equipment. We bought some plexiglass, we bought some masks. We have a lot of cleaning supplies, things like that. We prepaid for employee testing protocols through the end of this year. Over the summer, we paid for student transportation for meal delivery. A lot of software and digital curriculum to support distance learning, and not only this year, but multi-year agreements like we've done in the past. We were able to do some new things through there. We did the virtual outdoor ed, as Mrs. Smith talked about. We were able to bring on some additional Chromebooks and hotspots, which were a little bit tricky to track down at the beginning of the year, but that's evened out. And we are able to do some network infrastructure with those funds as well. I think that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Is there some CARES Act funding that remains that we won't be able to spend, or is it looked like there's about 700,000 there that, yeah.
We do have about 700,000 left because that has later spend by dates.
Oh,
One small amount doesn't have an expiration date. That's a state fund. But the rest, I think, are September of 2022. So it gives us a little bit longer window.
Perfect, thank you.
Mrs. Mendoza, you were talking, in one part, you talked about review of the TK3 class sizing. How does that go with distance learning? Because we're not in a class, but do they count the number of students minute-wise?
For the TK3, we still only can have 24 enrolled in the classroom. So even if it's a cohort, and they only have 12 in class with them, they can only have 24 enrolled in their classroom.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions to ask Mrs. Mendoza? No, thank you very much for everything. Is there
Move
what?
to approve the interim
Yes.
budget as presented?
And I second that.
Mr. Bazar,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst,
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly,
Aye.
Mr. Wallace,
Aye.
Mrs. Conforti votes aye, passed 5-0. Public hearing on budget overview for parents. Yes, please.
And the time is
7:52.
7:52.
Okay.
Mrs. Mendoza?
Excuse me, 6:52. Yes.
Oh.
The budget overview for parents is kind of an addendum to the LCAP. We didn't do a full LCAP cycle back in the spring. So this is just a shortened view. It talks about the revenue and the expenditures. Because our LCAP was largely unchanged from the year before, had a lot of the same goals, same expenditures, everything tied to it. Mrs. Betancourt and I really focused on the CARES Act funding and what we would do with that. And that's what we used to address in this, that we would be doing differently than what we were already doing. This is not a full picture, and every district's LCAP is a little bit different, how much they put in it, whether they just put in the funding from the LCFF, or if they include other programs like Title I or Ag Incentive or other categoricals to help them meet their goals. Similar to the site plans, when the principals write their site plans, they may not have a lot of Title I, but they still have their goals that they want to meet, and they have other sources to support that. So they include their actions, but not necessarily tie in any funding to it. So that's why this looks a little bit different, just because of it does talk about our total revenue and our total expenditures, but not the same way that the LCAP does. We will also, there was a question about whether or not, what happens if we don't spend all of our LCFF money. Our LCFF is very small. It's a big part of our general fund, but it's not all of it. So we were advised by the state when the LCFF came to be not to track it separately. It's unrestricted money and it's local funding. Now we're getting kind of different guidance to show that we need to show that we're going to spend this money first, because it needs to be spent on our unduplicated students, and our unduplicated students are 70% of our district. So it's not hard to spend that money first, because we can spend it on everyone.
Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Mendoza?
for addressing the LCFF.
Thank you. What time is it, Paul? Do we,
6:59. Close it.
yeah. I'm going to close 6:59, Mr. Wallace.
Yes.
Approve budget overview for parents. Are there any questions about this? No. May I have a motion to approve?
I would make that motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Bazar?
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst?
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly?
Aye.
Mr. Wallace?
Aye.
Mrs. Conforti votes aye. It's passed 5-0. Approval of SELPA Local Plan Part B.
This is, if I may, just very quickly, this is just the regular plan that comes up periodically so we can continue our services with the county SELPA. So we would recommend that you approve this plan.
Make a motion that we approve.
Sorry, may I have a motion? I didn't have my, okay, thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Bazar?
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst?
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly?
Aye.
Mr. Wallace?
Aye.
Mrs. Conforti votes aye. It's passed 5-0. Consider CSBA Delegate Assembly District nomination. I nominate Mr. Wallace.
I second that nomination.
Okay. May I have a motion to accept the CSBA Delegate Assembly District nomination of Mr. Wallace?
I'll make that motion.
I have seconded.
Okay. Mr. Bazar?
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst?
Aye.
Mr. Snodderly?
Aye.
Mr. Wallace?
Aye.
Mrs. Conforti votes aye. It's passed 5-0. Paul, thank you for all the hard work you've been
Yes.
doing on that over the
Thank you.
last couple of years.
Thank you for your support. I enjoy that project. It's some fun work.
It's nice when you bring us back all that good information also. Thank you. School of the month for next month is Bonita, and we will have a VTA audit report from Mrs. Mendoza, I believe. Right? Okay. Mr. Philpott, would you like to give your report?
I'd just like to share a couple things. And one is that obviously all of our mind is our seniors as they are trying to graduate this year in a very difficult situation. I'm very happy to tell you that I think that the high school's taken a good approach with on this next basically grade reporting, which ends on January 4th. Instead of just a report card, they're actually going to be sending transcripts instead of the report card, so that parents can see what is put on the transcripts, and they'll send an explanation with the grad requirements and A through G requirements for college. And this way, parents can contact their learning director to have any questions about their diploma and graduation requirements and stuff immediately. So I think that's a good move, which I think maybe is a standard that should happen in the future. But, you know, a lot of the question right now is about pass rates and whatnot. You know, prior to that 50% rule, we had nearly 2,000 Fs across the high school, which normally we'd only have about 500. In other words, usually before distance learning, it was about 5% would be Fs. After distance learning, the grade, our F rate was about 25%. And that's typically what a lot of our districts are finding. Other districts who have also implemented that 50% rule. Since then, our distance learning 50% rule, our F rate is about 13%. So, you know, an F is still an F. And an F isn't going to turn necessarily into a C, but it may turn into a D for a pass rate. And I think that's important to note. The thing that I want to share with you actually is that there's a lot of examples of students who actually have benefited already from this policy. But there's one that I'd like to read is actually a letter that was sent to a teacher from a student, which I think kind of tells you some of the challenges that our students are actually dealing with right And this student writes to the teacher, I hope you are having a wonderful day. I just want to apologize for not coming to your class every day anymore and not doing your homework. Things have been rough lately with my personal life. I got kicked out of my house back in November, and I've been sleeping on an undersized couch. So rest hasn't been there, and this whole thing has taken a big toll on me. And my mental health, which was already going on a downward spiral. I just really wanted to apologize because I know this whole online thing is hard for you as a teacher, and I just want to let you know that it's not you that made me stop showing up to class. I just am so drained and unmotivated that I sleep all day and try to escape. I'm extremely sorry that I've been putting none to minimal effort in your class. But this is also a student that was reached out by counselors and worked with, and is now has an opportunity basically to pass some things and now sees some motivation, reason actually to continue on. And there's a lot of stories like that. The other thing I just want to share with you is that, we have wonderful learning directors at our high school. We have wonderful counselors across the district. But we also know that sometimes we want to partner for additional help. And so we actually are partnering with CSU, and this is under the direction of the learning directors and Kelly Sharp at the high school, working through CSU for representatives through a civic action fellowship. This is a grant where basically we're going to get 4 fellows, if you will, that will be paid by the grant to assist students with creating college portals, completing their to-do lists, educating all students with the CTE pathways, creating accounts for student accounts and going to college, and community college applications. And so I think that this is a great time because, college applications across the United States are down. They're down quite a bit at the state level. And I know that we're experiencing the same thing. We're just a microcosm of the greater community. So my hats are off to our learning directors and our staff. They're really pushing to try to help kids, not only academically, but also emotionally as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Philpott. That letter was very interesting. Mr. Bizarre, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
Well, I was
Report?
Did that do it? Okay. Well, anyway, I was listening to Mr. Philpott, and before that, I was thinking about how difficult this year must be for our seniors, particularly, to have gone through this experience, your senior year, which you thought was going to be sort of the culmination of your high school year, your high school career, your chance to, go to the homecoming game as a senior, your chance to go to the various dances as a senior, your chance to fill out and apply to colleges, which I don't know if that's a good thing for everybody or a bad thing, but it's certainly an exciting time, at least from my point of view as a parent of 5 children who've gone to college and 1 who hopefully will in another year or 2. But, these kids have had to do not at all on their own, because we do have the learning directors, we do have the teachers that are working with them. But I was looking here, we sent out I think it's called Parent Square notification a few weeks ago about the PSAT and the SAT tests. I mean, just that alone to me would be very puzzling this year. The University of California doesn't seem to be requiring the SAT anymore, but they'll accept it. So you've got a bunch of kids, and we were very proud last year, as I remember, that we were essentially testing everybody in our junior and senior year because we wanted them to have that experience. We wanted them to understand what it's like to take this kind of a standardized test, to see what you can do, and to then evaluate whether that would help you get into one of these institutions, whether it's the state colleges or the state university. This year, we have the uncertainty from the institutions themselves as to whether they want the test. Apparently, Cal State still wants it. at least for this year, and the UCs will accept it, but aren't asking for it. But it would be problematic if I was a child, and particularly if I was coming from a family whose parents had not had a university education or weren't familiar with the application process, to know whether I should or shouldn't be taking the test, signing up for the test. I see, again, I looked at it just a couple seconds ago, and I saw that the deadline to apply for the SAT looks like it's the 16th. It looks like applications to the state colleges are supposed to be turned in tomorrow. You know, these things would be stumbling blocks and are stumbling blocks for a lot of our kids. I know we have learning directors, and I know they're working with these kids, but I can just imagine how much more difficult it is this year than it would have been last year. I'll tell one short story from my own experience. When I was a high school senior, I was applying to the UCs, and I thought the deadline was a particular date. Matter of fact, I asked, and this is not to disparage all high school counselors, but I still remember this fella who was our high school basketball coach. And I went to him and he said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about the application is next month." Well, he thought I was going to go to Fresno State. I wanted to go to UC Berkeley. Luckily, I ran into the president of our high school class, who was a friend of mine, and he said, "Did you finish your application?" I said, "What do you mean? I got till next month." He said, "No, it's tomorrow." So I wrote the application that night and sent it in. And I got in and went away. But I can tell you, it would be hard if you were not in high school with a supportive group of friends who would say to you, "Hey, you got to do this. This is what your essay looks like. Make sure you're doing this." I know we all want to encourage individual responsibility, but for crying out loud, we also want everybody to succeed if they can. And it's a tough year for these kids. Anyway, my heart goes out to them. I hope they do well. Good luck. That's all my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bazar. Mrs. Hurst?
Okay, I'm unmuted, right? Yes, okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to Carolyn Mendoza for all of her hard work to keep us financially sound, okay? And I want to say that artwork, and I think that the young man's name was Isaiah. I hope that was what it was. But whoever did that artwork for the Thought Exchange at YOLO, that piece was exquisite. It was so well done. So thank you. I know that this has been a very, very trying year for everyone, and I really want to commend all of the staff, any person that works in any way with our school district, for all that you have done for our students during this nightmare of a year so far. I also want to send out my deepest sympathy to any Newman-Crows Unified School District employee who has had anyone in his or her life negatively affected by COVID in any way. But finally, I want to end on a happy note. Okay. I wish you all a restful break, a blessed Merry Christmas, and much better 2021. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Hurst. Okay. Mr. Snotterly.
And, I want to compliment all the teachers and the staff, and actually the parents as well, too. It is a very difficult year. I think you all are doing your best. You're making tough decisions in a time when none of us have experience in this. So we'll just have to work our way through it. COVID's going to pass someday. In my day, Mr. Bazar, and when I was a senior in high school, I'm sure I didn't take the SAT or anything, but the Marine Corps still accepted me, and about a week after I graduated high school, I ended up in the Marine Corps, and a month later, Vietnam, and more than a month. So there are times, you're having it tough, but a lot of us live through tough times as well too, and you'll make it through. You know, if you work hard, I mean, I ended up being a superintendent. Who would figure? You know, so you're doing good. Appreciate all of you. You know, I see a few staff around town, and they all look stressed. You're doing good. Hang in there. Keep talking to us. I like to hear from you. You know, send us letters. We'll make Mr. Philpott read them. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Snutterly. Mr. Wallace?
I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the work that I've been doing outside, bring back a little bit of the information that I've gotten from my CSBA work and Association of School Boards work. In so a lot less training going on maybe than we would like to do. Usually our Association of School Boards would do some orientations for new board members. Fortunately, everyone elected on our board has kind of had the chance to do that training in the past, because it doesn't look like we're going to be able to offer that the way we normally do. Usually we get a chance to kind of come together and share some news, and a lot of us experienced board members go to that too, and we won't be able to offer that this year. I am recently elected to be the treasurer of our Association of School Boards, so we'll continue to do. We're continuing with the charitable work that we do. We support the teachers, the classified staff that they do an annual award for Teacher of the Year. Students making a difference, I think it is, and then the classified staff people of the year, and we're continuing to support those in the name of all the district, all the boards around the county. At CSBA level, one of the things that we've really been working a lot on is access to the internet. I don't know about Diablo Grande's access to the internet, but here in the town of Newman, it's pretty terrible. It's nothing compared to what some of our fellow folks are dealing with. It's something that's really becoming a problem, not just, distance learning made it horrible for schools. We've got districts in Fresno County that are handing out packets because their kids can't get to. They're opening the parking lots of their schools so that children can be driven down and kind of left in a car to access the internet. So fortunately, I kind of sit on my hands and remember the fact that we went one-to-one, that, we kind of had bit that bullet previously. We knew how to get all the kids on a machine, because there's a lot of districts out there struggling to get a machine for each student. But the access is just horrible. And I deal with this in my farming business as well. And what we're really finding is that the internet providers are not stepping up for rural California. They're happy to step up in urban areas where they can make a nice profit. But when it comes time to get information out, and it's really showing up in the rural districts, they just plain can't get their students online. And so, we talk about all this stuff that we're delivering. We talk about parents that are asking for Parent Square and how we do so much of that communication by email and by, it's not available to an awful lot. Senator Caballero's been very involved in this. We've had 2 or 3 meetings, the CSBA group with her. I'm going to reach out to the city of Gustine. I know that the city of Gustine is having some issues with this. Maybe we can use some of those contacts together. That's something that CSBA has been doing a lot of work with. I think you've all met Steve Reed, our pacer for this area, who's really designed to be able to take our connection to the community and deliver it to Senator Caballero and Assemblyman Gray and Governor Newsom and say, hey, we've got all these elected officials out there who answer to your constituents, and this is the problem that they're having. So I think that one of the things that we're gonna need to work on, and probably be coming and asking you guys when it's time to knock on doors at our assembly member and our senator, and hey, we need something to make the AT&Ts and the Verizons that are supplying internet supply it to rural areas. And it's not just, I mean, if I could put a internet to a pump, then I can tell if we're wasting water, but we can't do that in farming. And so this is going to be an issue that I think comes up, and it's one that we're really hot on. Certainly, CSBA on their website does have lots of COVID information. They maintain a constant ongoing. So if you're wondering, did something just happen? Did, Department of Ed or did the governor it'll be on CSBA's website. But just kind of wanted to bring back some of that stuff. We've been meeting about once a month just as a group of the delegates here in this area, trying to get the information from our districts back over. Patterson actually is in the process of putting up some, they spent some of their CARES money to get wireless out across their district. But, kind of a shame that they had to pull that money out of the classroom and put it someplace that the Verizons of the world ought to be supplying us. So anyway, that was most of what I had. Compliments to the parents, the students, and the teachers and our staff for how tough they're working. Thank you, Mr. Philpott, for continuing to push forward. We can talk all day long about 50% for a missed or whatnot, but we really need to be moving forward. I think all of us had experiences where we felt like our grades didn't reflect our knowledge. And I think that we're moving forward on making that better. So we will be getting together with people once we're past this emergency, but sending a bunch of kids out without a high school diploma at 4 times the normal rate was an emergency that needed to be dealt with, and we're going to deal with the bigger picture as we move forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. It's been a difficult time, not only for our students, but for our parents and also for your board members. We all think of our students. They're our number one priority right now, and also the parents that are dealing with all of this. Thank you for all your help. The new board members, I believe, all say thank you for allowing us to be part of this. Have a very safe holiday. We know that there are a lot of things that are going to happen. Please stay safe. But number one, please take some time for yourself. Maybe bake some cookies, have something with you, but have a good holiday, and we will see you on Zoom in January. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll
second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good holiday. Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you.